AJ, what do you see in the field when you see people trying to put containers into production in a environment, public or private cloud?
Torsten, that's a great question. I think the big difference I feel in my 15 to 18 years of experience is when I started my career, VMs were the biggest rage. And with VMs, the most of the change came to the ops team, where the ops team had to learn about this new abstraction and work with this new abstraction in terms of deployment, in terms of management, migration, snapshotting, all of these things. But with containers, I feel the change in abstraction, the burden comes a lot on the developers and how the applications are being written. And part of the change comes on the ops team. To give you a very specific example, once you move to a container-based application writing, you have to think about service discovery, because you'll be running a single service using multiple containers, and these containers may move from one host to another. Some host may go away and the containers would get spun up somewhere else.
Right.
So you need a component, something like service discovery. You have to worry about your exact packaging, how you are packaging the container itself, how you are doing the logging in the container, and if you are running lots of containers, how would you aggregate all of those logs?
Yeah.
You also have to worry about security and key management related to containers. So I think with containers, the biggest change is that you do have to think about rewriting your app. It's not an easy transitioning saying, oh, here is an app running on a physical machine or a VM,
Right.
Let's just put it in a container.
And the big difference compared to the VM time is that now the developers love the containers, right? They want the Docker Compose. That's what they're after. What then happens in the infrastructure is the problem of the ops guys, and they don't necessarily want to deal with that.
True. So I think that brings me to the second issue is there is change for ops as well.
Right.
So it's not that for ops there is zero change. And for the change for ops is also even bigger, because now ops have to worry about capacity planning at a different level, which is within the single machine. They have to worry about capacity planning of CPU, memory, networking, and storage resources.
Right.
They have to worry about monitoring all of these containers. And the number of containers is typically much more than the number of VMs. These entities are a lot more ephemeral as compared to VMs.
Right.
And
a lot more traffic east-west between the individual parts of Kubernetes, right? That you have to somehow secure and see that there's no malware in there.
True, exactly. And I think if people think that VM introduced a lot of dynamic things within an infrastructure environment, container almost makes it a magnitude, order of magnitude worse.
Yeah.
Because now you can spin up things within milliseconds and then kill it and start it somewhere else. And one of the examples I have heard from customers where they have really tried to deploy it in production is their ops team runs into a lot of data challenges, where they have to think about how would they snapshot data at a container level. Yeah. Because there are technologies existing that can do it at a VM or a virtual disk level, but a VM could be running 10 different containers.
Yeah, the namespaces are different, right? You have to either code the namespaces as a variable, or you have to map it statically, or you have to buy SwiftStack or something like that so that you have one namespace across your NetApp and all of the things. So there's a lot of things that the ops guys will have to deal to as a price for the Docker Compose that the dev guys are getting.
True, exactly. So I think, as people said, when we moved from physical machine to VMs, all the solutions need to be VM aware. They need to know what VM is, and the granularity should be VM. I think with containers, the ops guys need to look for a solution which is container aware. And now the solution needs to be able to do a snapshot and a restore and all of these things at a container level.
Right.
And they have to worry about monitoring all these containers in a manner so that they know what's going on. And they also have to somehow track the history of containers and things like that.
Yeah, and map them to the SLAs, right? If you don't even know how it scales, how it spins up, how it spins down, you're still responsible for the SLAs. That's not so simple either.
True, exactly. So in my mind, I think the big change would come from, again, the storage and networking technologies. I think the networking is still, people have some good understanding of how the networking across containers would work, and networking is not as stateful But I think when it comes to storage, people need a lot of reliability, and they need much better SLAs. And if you have granularity which doesn't map to container, the cost of mismatch in granularity is much higher. And I think that's where the ops team's challenge comes. So I think the biggest challenge in companies adopting containers and moving them into production is the learning curve is much bigger, both for developers as well as ops team.
Yeah.
And that is where I think the challenge would come, that how fast we can make these technologies easier to learn and consume by both of these entities.
AJ, thank you very much.
Thanks, Torsten. It was good talking to you.